Hello students, welcome to Biology with Miss Rinki. In the previous video, we have studied about the components of blood, and the very first blood component which we had discussed was plasma. Now let's discuss about the other components of the blood, which are the formed elements, all right, which are the formed elements, all right, of the blood. That's your red blood cell, white blood cell, and platelets, right? Now, today our focus is going to be on the very first element, all right, which is nothing but the red blood cells. Okay, our discussion for today is going to be what? Red blood cells as a discussion. Now, red blood cells which are there, all right, they're also, so let me write down, you call it as what? Red blood cells, or you also call it as what? Red blood corpuscles, all right? In another word, okay, the another word which is commonly used for red blood cells is it is called as erythrocytes. Okay, the word erythro, okay, the word erythro means what? Red, and since you know red blood cells are red, that's why erythro. And cyte, as you know, is the word for what? Cells. So they are red cells. Okay. As you know, the red blood cells which are there, okay, if I see from the top, okay, if I see from the top, okay, it is going to be a disc like, right? From the top, all right, if I see, okay, it's going to be like a disc, right? Another, if it, I see it from the sides, okay, if I see it from the sides, okay, then you call it as what? If you see it from the side, then you call it as what? You will see, okay, it's this way, right? Okay, from the side when you see, you see it, it is biconcave. Okay, that's how it appears like from the side. Okay, so remember the red blood cells which are there, they are actually where are they formed? If you look at the formation, where are they formed? They're actually formed in bone marrow. Okay, where are they formed? In the bone marrow. Another important thing to note is that remember, whenever they are formed in the bone marrow, all right, they are the ones which will have the nucleus, all right. So they will have the nucleus. When they're just formed in the bone marrow, they are going to be what? Nucleated. But once they mature, okay, mature or means now they're going to perform their function. And you know, the major function of red blood cell is what? To carry what? Oxygen, and see to it that that oxygen reaches each and every other cell of your body. All right. So when it matures, it loses its nucleus and becomes enucleated. Okay. Now your question will be, why does it become enucleated? Because the red blood cells require what? More amount of what? Oxygen. All right, what does it require? More amount of space. Why more amount of space? It requires more space for what? For hemoglobin. All right, so they are the ones which require what? More space for hemoglobin. All right, fine. Secondly, what happens is they're going to be what? More flexible. All right, why the red blood cells have to be more flexible? So they can actually travel through the capillary. All right, so okay, that they can travel through capillary. All right, so I hope you know red blood cells which are there, okay, do not have nucleus mature, okay. Very important, mature one. When they're formed, they do have. But once they are mature, they do not have nucleus, Golgi bodies, mitochondria, ribosomes, centrioles, ER. Everything is lost in them. Why? Because that will increase what? The surface area of the red blood cells, and enable them to carry what more hemoglobin, to carry what more hemoglobin. All right. And as you know, why to carry more hemoglobin, as you know, okay, uh, hemoglobin, you know, is basically nothing but a protein. Okay, globin is nothing, heme which is there. Okay, so heme which is there, hence the name hemoglobin. All right, and the protein which is there is called as what, globin. All right, so heme which is there is very rich in what, iron. Okay, it's going to be rich in what, iron. Okay, it's made up of iron. All right, so people who are deficiency of iron, they lead to anemia, because you know, it has a less hemoglobin content in them, because iron is missing, because the major component of hemoglobin is what, iron. All right, so remember a very interesting fact, if you want to know about the red blood cells, is there that the red blood cells which are there, okay, the red blood cells which are there, if I look at per millimeter, okay, per cubic millimeter, if I take per cubic millimeter, all right, in an average it is 5.1 to 5.6 million per cubic millimeter. So you imagine how many red blood cells are there. Okay, there are around 5.1 to 5.6 million per cubic millimeter. There are red blood cells. Okay, apart from that, remember, single RBC, okay, single RBC which is there, okay, single RBC, it's going to have what, it is going to have 280 million. If I see single RBC, it is going to have what, 280 million of what, hemoglobin molecule. Okay, 280 million of what, hemoglobin molecule. And each hemoglobin molecule, each, mind you, each hemoglobin molecule carries what, 4 molecule of oxygen. Okay, it carries what, 4 molecule of what, oxygen. All right, so imagine each red blood cell has so much of oxygen to carry. All right, because each and every cell, because our body is made up of, imagine how many cells, if you know, it's made up of 100 billion cells. Okay, a human body is made up of what, 100 billion cells, right? So the oxygen has to be regulated with so many intervals, so there are so many red blood cells per cubic millimeter, and each red blood cell carries 280 million hemoglobin molecule, and each hemoglobin, as I told you, carries what, 4 molecules of oxygen. So imagine, it's enormous. Okay, another, I told you that the red blood cells are going to be more flexible, so they can travel through the capillary. If you have known the capillary, all right, the diameter is very, very small. Do you know the diameter of a capillary is how much? So diameter of a capillary which is there is around 7 to 8 micron. Okay, so imagine, okay, if it's 7 to 8 micron, even the red blood cells which are there, their diameter is also more or less as the capillary only. Okay, it is also approximate 7 to 8 micron only. That is the reason, if you will have noticed, okay, if you have ever seen any video or anything, whenever they show the red blood cells, the red blood cells are moving like in a line, okay, one after another. They are not clumped, all right, or they are not going together, many of them, it's just one after another. They actually go in a straight single line, one after the another, because the diameter of the capillary is almost the diameter of the red blood cells. All right, another things about the red blood cell, all right, is that a normal healthy individual which is there, all right, in 100 ml of blood, in 100 ml of blood, carries around 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin. How much of hemoglobin does it carry? 12 to 16 grams of what, hemoglobin. All right, and further, if you want to know, all right, the disadvantage of this particular red blood cells which are there, the disadvantage of the red blood cells which is there is what, that it has a very poor mechanism. It has a poor repair mechanism. All right, compared to other blood cells, okay, they grow old faster. Okay, Another is the advantages, they don't divide, okay? They do not divide, okay? It doesn't divide, okay? And the lifespan which is there, all right, of the red blood cells, the lifespan of red blood cells is around 120 days, okay? So your question will be, what happens after 120 days? After 120 days, they are destroyed, okay? Now your question will be, where are they destroyed? So I hope you know, if when we have in the chapter nutrition, you will have studied about the liver. So liver, which is there, is basically present, all right. So on your right side, all right. So wherever you have your, it's like, right side, all the blood cells which are there, all the right side of the blood cells which are there, they go, all right, and get destroyed where in the liver, all the right side, okay. Right side means all the right side of your blood cells, okay. And the left side, okay, generally will go to the spleen, okay, because a spleen also has what, many capillaries, all right. So the left side, okay, because it's going to pass to the spleen, so it's going to be destroyed over there after 120 days. So basically that they are going to, you can say spleen is basically what, the graveyard, all right. Or in another words, it's even nothing but the blood bank, okay. It's even the blood bank, okay. So the question is, all right, because yes, in the initial stage of life, they even help in the formation of red blood cells, all right. Spleen in the initial developmental stage, okay, before like, the bone marrows and all are well developed, in the initial embryo stage, it forms the role of what, forming the red blood cell. In embryo, RBC is produced where, in the liver. That's why it's called as what, blood bank also. And later, when a person matures, that's where even the red blood cells are killed. So it is even the graveyard, all right. So it's a blood bank as well as the graveyard for the red blood cells. Now, your question will be, how does the liver know? Okay, because blood is circulating. How does the liver know that these RBCs have become old, all right, and they need to be what? They need to be destroyed. How does the liver know? I mean, you can like actually have so much of senses to understand, but how exactly does the liver know as to how, how is it that it mean, a red blood cell has become old? So, as I told you, red blood cell is one of the prominent characteristic, and there is flexibility that it's very flexible, and that's why it enters into the capillary, right? So what happens is, once the red blood cells become old, their flexibility is reduced. And if the flexibility is reduced, they cannot easily undergo movement from capillaries here and there, all right. So what will happen, they'll get trapped, okay. They'll get trapped, and because of which, what will happen, they'll be killed, all right. So just this was there the disadvantage. I'll just go further ahead. I'll just write down, all right. So how does the liver know that RBCs are old? Okay, flexibility reduces, and if trapped, they are killed, okay. Fine. And what will now the liver and the spleen do? They will bring about phagocytosis. Break it down, okay. Liver and spleen will bring about what? Phagocytosis, okay. Fine. Now another one which is there, all right, RBCs, when they are destroyed, or when RBCs are destroyed, okay, the word for breaking down is lysis. Since RBCs are destroyed, you call this as what? Hemolysis. What do you call it as? Hemolysis, because RBCs which are there are what? Destroyed, okay. So RBC destroyed where? In the liver, okay. Hemo is blood, right? and because of which even the hemoglobin is destroyed, right? If RBCs are destroyed, obviously hemoglobin is also destroyed. If hemoglobin is destroyed, because of which the pigments are formed, the bile pigments, as you know, in liver are produced, bilirubin and biliverdin are produced. Okay, bilirubin and what? Biliverdin are produced. Okay, fine. So another important thing which you need to know is when you study about blood, okay, when you anything study biology, logy means study. When you study about blood, all right, then it is called as what? Hematology. What is it called as? Hematology, all right. Formation of red blood cells, okay, in embryo. Remember, RBCs is produced in the liver, okay, that's why it is even the blood bank. Formation of blood, that is called as erythropoiesis, okay, formation of blood is called as what? Erythropoiesis, all right, or you even call it as what? Hematopoiesis, okay. And where does it take place? In the red bone marrow, all right. And remember, the raw material, all right, of the hemoglobin, raw material of the hemoglobin is what? Iron, okay. So if there's deficiency of iron, all right, then it leads to what? Anemia, okay, paleness of palm, nail bed, all of that which is there, all right, that is called as what? Anemia, okay. Wherein if the iron is less than 12 to 16 gram, all right, per ml, okay, then you know you call that is iron deficiency, and a person becomes what? Person becomes what? Pale, all right. The nail bed also are pale and all. Why? Because they're deficit of iron, because of, and iron is nothing but the raw material for what? Hemoglobin. Another important thing which you need to know, for the red blood cells to mature, vitamin B12 is very important. Okay, vitamin B12, all right, plays a role in what? Maturation of the red blood cells. What is important? It is important for the maturation of what? Red blood cells. All right. Another thing, all right, whenever there is a fall, whenever there is a fall in your RBC count, okay, whenever there is a fall in the RBC count, okay, then that condition, red blood cell is called as erythro. That condition is called as what? Erythrocytopenia. Okay. Whenever you go to higher altitudes, you require more oxygen, right? Because there's oxygen deficiency, all right. So you require more red blood cells, all right, because and since you require more blood cells over there, all right, so that you know your body cells get sufficient amount of oxygen, so more red blood cells are produced, all right, because more red blood cells means more oxygen, right? And so in such condition, all right, when a person, okay, there is a rise, okay, there is a rise, okay, in RBC, there's a rise in RBC, okay, that condition which is there is called as what? Erythrocytosis, okay. So in high altitudes, what happens is, if in higher altitudes, what happens is that a person, red blood cell count which is there, all right, increases, okay. The person's red blood count which is there, what? Increases at higher altitudes, all right. It even it's called as what? Acute mountain sickness, okay. Especially when you go to Ladakh and all, where you know already the oxygen levels are less, that time your red blood cells tends to what? Increase, all right. So that's about red blood cell. As you know, the functions, if I have to discuss about the functions, okay, if I have to discuss about the functions of the red blood cells, okay, what are the functions of red blood cells? Transport, right? What does it transport? It transport oxygen to each and every cell, okay. It binds, forms oxyhemoglobin, all right, and this oxygen is used for what? Oxidation of food. Another is what? Transport, okay, of CO2, okay. It helps in transporting carbon dioxide to the lungs, all right. um Fine. Another what it does play a role, okay, is in the maintenance, okay, is in the maintenance of pH of blood. Okay, it helps to maintain what the pH of the blood, because hemoglobin is an excellent acid base buffer, okay, which helps to maintain the pH of the blood. All right, even carbon dioxide, okay, combines, all right, which we'll be studying in respiratory system. And it has the important enzyme, okay, potassium bicarbonate in the presence of the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. All right, so it basically does the work of what, transporting of what, nutrients, transporting of substances across the body. All right, so that's overall what the function of what the red blood cells. With this we come towards the end of red blood cell. In the next lecture we'll discuss about what the white blood cells. Fine, thank you.